reading today, we're going to talk all about government and how citizens participate in government. We've learned a little bit about people who work in the government, but not everybody works in the government. Everybody in our school doesn't work for the government, but we still can be involved. We still can participate in the government. Today, let's start with some videos where we focus our attention on how we can participate in the government.
In today's lesson, we're going to focus on this goal. How can we make the shift from saying they should do something to what can I do? After all, we are the people of the United States. We run the country. We elect people. But as a kid, what can we do?
All right, that's our big question today. You might notice problems at school, in your community, and you might be thinking, well, hey, they should help us out. The government should be doing something about this. But Mrs. Thaxton is challenging you today to think, what can I do? What can I do as an American citizen? Here we have a text that's all about people getting involved. People who are running the country and making things happen. We're going to take 3 quiet minutes and read this text to ourselves. Then we're going to share out with the class what we understand about the text. So friends in person and friends on Zoom, you have 3 minutes to read slide number 2 and think about how can we get involved when we see problems in our community. 3 quiet minutes to read. You may begin. All right, let's go ahead and start sharing out some ideas that we read in this text. I'm going to start calling on friends, both friends in person and friends on Zoom, so be ready. Let's start with Ashley. What's something in this text that you remember? Ashley, what's something you read in this text? All right, we'll come back to Ashley. Nick, go ahead. Who lives in a big office? Some people who work for the government work in an office. I see that Nick has been reading the text. What else do we know about this text called getting involved? Kaylee.
Getting involved, judges and police getting involved in other crimes.
Yeah, we have people in our community like judges and police officers who get involved to keep people safe, to prevent crime. Angela, what do you know about the getting involved text?
I noticed that people can also write letters. They can call their messages on messages on here and they can even write letters to the president of the United States.
Good, pause right there. I noticed Angela's looking right here at this section of text. She said that people like you and me can write letters. We can call our people in the government or write them letters or send them messages on social media. If we see a problem in our community, we have the power to write a letter or make a phone call and say, hey, I elected you to be my leader. I noticed this problem. I think we need to work on fixing it. Or you could say that in a letter. So that's something that citizens can do. Citizens also can use their voice by voting. When you vote when you're an adult, you get to help choose the leaders in our communities. That's really important, that you choose the best leaders possible. Okay, so we know that citizens can be involved. We can write letters, we can make phone calls, we can vote for leaders. But you might be wondering, I'm just a kid. What is a kid supposed to do? I'm glad you asked. Today we're going to focus on, well, what can kids do? You are citizens in our country. What can you do to be involved? We're going to focus on that today. Here we have a text that is all about being a good citizen. A citizen is a person who lives in our country. I'm going to click play. I want you focusing your attention, thinking about what can kids do? How can kids be a good citizen in our country?
Chapter 4. What can you do? Being a good citizen. You may wonder how you can help your community and government. You're too young to serve on a jury. You don't pay taxes to help improve your city streets or parks. You can't vote or get elected to government positions. But there is a big way that you can get involved. You can be a good citizen. Imagine you are walking to school and notice one of your classmates struggling to put the chain back on his or her bicycle. Being a good citizen means stopping and helping your classmate if you can. Being a good citizen can also mean organizing a charity drive for people in need, such as people who are homeless or suffering from cancer. Recycling at home and at school is also an example of being a good citizen. Volunteers picked up trash in an alley in Los Angeles, California. You can help in other ways too. Even though you can't run for office just yet, you can help someone who is running. During an election season, ask a parent to march with you in a parade to support your favorite candidate. You can also volunteer to help the campaign. You can talk to your neighbors about why they should support your candidate. You can also write about an issue you are passionate about. You could write a letter to the editor of your local paper. Also consider writing to your senator or representative about an issue that concerns you. Campaign. Series of activities organized to win an election. Don't be afraid to get involved. Remember that government officials work for the people, including you. Children can affect their community, especially when they join together. Students talked to politicians at the Capitol building in Boise, Idaho. Fact: volunteering is an important part of civic responsibility. In 2015, close to 25% of U.S. residents volunteered their time. That's 7.9 billion hours.
Okay, so let's share out some ideas of what we heard that kids can do. In this text, it really focused on kids. How can kids be involved with the government? I noticed in the text it said, you can't be a government worker yet, you're just a kid. I heard the text say, you can't vote yet, you're just a kid. But what can you do? What ideas did you hear, Gloria? How can you help people, Gloria? So when you see somebody who needs help, you can help. That's called being a good citizen. Day, what did you hear? Being a good citizen. Nick, what did you hear?
Help homeless people and help pets.
So maybe taking care of animals around you or people who need help, like people who might be homeless in your community. Kaylee, what can kids do to be involved?
They can actually pets or
Yeah. Ask your parents, can we go to this march or this protest? What can kids do, Angela?
They can recycle at home in school.
You can recycle, you can clean up litter. I think I saw a picture of a kid cleaning up trash in the alley, right? Kids can do lots of things to be involved, and we call it being a good citizen. A citizen is a person who lives in our country, and you can practice being a good citizen by helping, taking care of others, supporting people who run for office. Awesome job. Okay, our next video is going to remind us of the purpose of the government. Why do we have the government?
We recall from all of our study about government and law that governments and laws basically have two goals in mind. Their two goals are they want to keep people safe and they want to help people work together. Our laws are created to make sure that people stay safe and that they work together. Today we're going to explore how some young people have been able to help create laws that might either keep people safe or help people work together. Think about this as you read the next article.
So today we get to learn about a kid who helped make a law to keep people safe or to keep people working together. You might be thinking, I'm just a kid, I can't make any laws. But in our next text, we get to hear about a student who helped make a law. We're going to read this text together. It's from Scholastic News. And we're going to learn about this young student, just like you, who helped create a law that helps other people. Okay? So we're going to read and discuss this text. Our question to focus on: how does Lily Kay's idea for a new law help keep people safe or help people work together? So we're going to read about the law that she helped make. Here we go. It's called My Story. I Created a New Law. Students are looking at the text, focusing your attention. When Lily Kay was in 4th grade, she made a big difference. Waiting on some friends to focus attention. She explains how in her own words here. Kaylee, make sure you're focused. You might think you're too young to change how our government works. It's not true. I live in Greenland Hills, Texas. I helped get a bill signed into law by the Texas governor named Greg Abbott. 2 years ago, when I was in 4th grade, I visited a bunch of national parks with my family. Under the Every Kid Outdoor program, 4th graders and their families get into national parks for free. I wondered if there was a similar program for kids to visit Texas state parks. I did some research and found out there wasn't. So I wrote a letter to Morgan Meyer, my state representative. I asked him to introduce a bill to give 5th graders and their families free passes for Texas state parks. We learn about Texas history in 4th grade. If we got free passes the next year, we could see the things we learned about, like the battlefield of San Juanito. Representative Meyer introduced the bill. Last year, he asked me to speak in front of the other lawmakers to explain my idea. I spoke before 2 groups in April and May. Along the way, the bill was reviewed by the Texas Senate and House of Representatives. Finally, in June 2019, it was signed into law. It was a lot of work, but I kept thinking I was making a big difference for Texas families. I'd like to encourage all kids to dream big. All right, so what have we heard from Lily Kay? She just told us in her own words what she did. We're going to get in some groups and talk about what we heard in our text. Friends on Zoom, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. You can talk about what you understand from Lily's text. Friends in person, we're going to partner up and talk about what we understand from Lily's text. So we know that Lily Kay is a fourth grader. It says when she was in fourth grade, she made a big difference. So what difference did she make? What was the law that she thought of and that she spoke about? Remember, she said she spoke in front of the government. What was she working on, Kaylee?
She made a big difference in
Good, so Kaylee is sharing out Lily Kay's words. She says, you might think you're too young to change how our government works. It's not true. Okay, so what did Lily Kay do? She says, you're not too young. What did she do? What does the text talk about? Shh, stop talking out. Nick, what does she do?
She talked about a park.
She talked about parks. Okay, so let's look at our text. She says, 2 years ago when I was in fourth grade, I visited a bunch of national parks with my family. Okay, she talked about parks. What does that have to do with her creating a law? What was the law that she wanted to create? She says she visited parks. What happened after that? After she visited the national parks, what happened? What was she wondering about? Angela?
She wanted to give the fifth graders and their families free passes to Texas.
Oh my gosh, Angela, knocking it out of the park. Look at this evidence I'm highlighting right here. Angela found evidence that says, I asked him, she's talking about this guy who is her representative for the government, her governor. I'm sorry, no, her state representative. She said, I asked him to introduce a bill to give fifth graders and their families free passes to Texas state parks. What did the law do? They gave what?
They passed it.
What's a pass?
They gave the pass to the Texas park.
So a pass does what, Gloria? I can't hear Gloria when other people are making sounds. Okay, so she said I asked him to create a bill, which first is a bill, then it becomes a law, and it gave families of fifth graders tickets. It's called a pass, that they could get into free parks. So did Lily Kay think of a way to help kids learn? How did she think of a way to help kids learn? Why does she want fifth graders to get to go to parks? What does that have to do with anything? Kaylee, what are you thinking?
I did some research to find
Wasn't. Yeah, so Lily Kay said she started researching. She started looking up, probably on Google, she's looking up, do families of fifth graders get to go to parks for free? And she found out the answer was no. So she said, wait a second. Texas families should get to go to parks to learn about our state, to learn about our history. So what Lily did was she thought she found a problem. She found out that families cannot go to parks for free. So then she thought of a solution. She said, well, what if the government makes a law that will give fifth graders free passes? So then families of fifth graders can go to parks and then we can learn a lot more. She thought of a problem. She thought of a solution. And then she asked her government to work on the solution with her. It says that she wrote a letter to her government. She told them her idea. She said, hey, fifth graders can't go to parks for free. This is a problem. Here's my idea. The state should give us free passes so that families can go to parks and we can learn about the park and history. She said, will you do that with me? Will you make a law? Will you first make a bill and then we can turn it into a law? And her government said, yes, we can do that. So kids, just like you, she did this when she was in 4th grade. Kids just like you might see a problem in your community. You might be thinking of a solution. You might be thinking of an idea of how you could fix that or make it better. And you can ask your government, will you help me? Will you help me make this better for people in our community? That's what Lily Kay did. She was all about asking the government, hey, will you help us? The government works for the people. So today, boys and girls, in your work time, let's look at slide number 6. Your work today is slide number 6 and 7. On number 6, here are some questions to think about.
I'm gonna see so.
It says, think about these goals. Then discuss the question below with your class. Here's our question, focusing. It says, what would you work at to improve in your community? Lily Kay thought about her community and how students should be able to go to parks for free. You might be thinking about different things in your community. What would you work at to improve in your community? I want you to think of some ideas. On this side, it says keep people safe. What are some ideas you have on how to keep people safe in your community? On this side, it says help people work together. What are some ideas you have for helping people work together in your community? Keep your thoughts. Slide number 7. Slide number 7 is all about doing what Lily did. It says, what kinds of problems do you see in our school? What kinds of problems do you see in our school that prevent students from working together or staying safe? Think about Indian Creek. What problems do you see in our own school when people are not being safe or people are not working together? What problems do you see? I want you to identify some problems today. These are your 2 pages of work today. Slides 6 and 7, you're going to complete. Thank you for waiting. Theo, what are you wondering?
Keller is.
I'm getting on seesaw. I'm gonna get on
is
seesaw.
writing
I'm gonna get on seesaw. I'm getting on seesaw right now. I'm gonna get on.
I will help you fix that in a minute. Yes, Nick.
About the questions like kind of the people will get them to pick up trash and it keeps people safe from trash, a frisbee. And you're using it.
Right, keeping people safe. Okay, friends on Zoom. You are working on slides 6 and 7 during your work time today. It's now time for your break. I'm going to end the Zoom. Work on slides 6 and 7, brainstorming some ideas. We're going to continue with these ideas tomorrow to do some writing. I'm going to end the Zoom. I will be on Math Zoom at 10:30.